Assalomu alaykum. Mening ismim Alisher. Koreya Respublikasida Ta'limni rivojlantirish fakultetida magistrant talabaman. Bugun YouTube kanali orqali bir ta'limni zamonaviy dunyoda ta'limni rivojlantirish mavzusida bir mavzuni yoritmoqchi edim. Hi everybody, my name is Alisher. I'm a master student in Korea in the Department of Educational Evaluation. Today I want to do my YouTube presentation. Thank you for everybody for seeing my lesson. This is my first YouTube lesson. I'm not English speaker, but I will try to explain the topic in English. Thank you very much. So let's begin. The main trends in the development of education in the modern world, it is the theme of my YouTube lesson. In the last few years, in the speeches and publications of philosophers, sociologists, psychologists, and teachers, as well as scientists, writers, politicians, and others, the problem of education has been shown to be of particular relevance. It is unlikely that this can be considered a mere coincidence or a new intellectual fashion. Rather, some new trends of global civilization process are behind this. Moreover, in any discussions on the topic of evaluation and the topic of education, special attention is paid to both a rather strict critical assessment of classical education concepts, models, and institutions search for their new image that more adequate to the current cultural situation. The traditional education model we know is almost always a simple translation of culture. Already the world as a whole is becoming multipolar and multicultural. The leading trends in modern education are its humanization and dialogism and design. In this regard, there is already an understanding that education and training are very different things, and not education should not be just broadcast. However, today educational methodologies and technologies are changing even the content of educational programs and evaluation, but not the very essence of education, which so far remains completely unchanged since the main mental change in this context has not yet occurred. There is still a lack of understanding that education should not simply broadcast culture and even more some whatever monoculture is. The broadcast of culture that has relieved its hostility, repressiveness towards a person and culture is failing can hardly be considered reasonable at all. And this means that meanings, goal, and values of education must change. In my opinion, of course. Education should serve the progressive development of man, society, and civilization as a whole in every sense. Since we are talking about the fact that education should cease to be a broadcast of culture is designed to more likely teach a person to find his place, his niche in culture, to shape his subculture space. Philosophy must acquire a completely different status and significance a new education. It is philosophy, as sometimes that works not with, but with culture meanings, and is a metaculture phenomenon that can become main reflection tool in this education activity of the subjects. Of course, such a changes in the era essence of education will inevitable, entail and adequate change in applied forms of educational activity and types of educational spaces. When education ceases to be a simple translation of culture and a certain set professional knowledge, skills, then any academic subjects or discipline within the educational process can no longer be its goal, as well as some forms of education activity. Under these conditions, they certainly must acquire for subjects and educational process status of an instrument of meaning generation. So all this highlights the issue of the need substantial revision, reassessment of some ideals and norms customary for traditional education, including from a number of so-called universal values. In any case, many of them must be reinterpreted and adapted to the changed parameters of reality. And first of all, we are talking about some stereotypes, both old and new education. So it is widely known in a number of countries the thesis on a humanistic nature of education has been elevated to the rank of law, both in content and in the ways of implementing educational practices. A man and his interests are above all. He is always a goal and should never be means in any activity, any violence against a human person unacceptable. This standard set of beautiful attitudes that is standard for current education reforms has become our role of good pedagogical tone, a measure of the degree expressiveness of the progressiveness and innovativeness. So thank you very much, and I want to pay attention, should be paid to number of other traditional values of education, which also need reflexive problematization and critical rethinking. Today, more and more often required on the needed to planning and organizing educational based on request order of the participants in the educational process themselves are being added to the already known settings indicated here. The requirement, of course, is good, but hardly reasonable, because a person who is just embarking on self-education, self-construction, self-design in the literal sense of these words is hardly able to clearly formulate and design the trajectory of his educational movement. He also does not have goals for his movement clear, let alone the means of achieving them. Another problem of traditional education, which requires unconditional permission in new education, is its mass character, in which the entire educational process as a whole is wholly focused on the average pupil and students. Modern education is a means of solving the most important problems of not only the whole society, but also of individuals, being one of the most important stages in the long process of their socialization. The following types of education are distinguished: primary, secondary, special, and higher. In the process of education, a person's master culture values, science achievements of cognitive nature constitute and constitute and totality of the material and spiritual heritage of mankind insofar as the development of the basic scientific principles is also actionizing of cultural values as a result to the didactic concepts of culture was formulated, training education of the young generation by means of culture. So in modern world, we cannot imagine the education without new media technologies. For example, augmented reality and artificial intelligence. I offer, as a teacher, I may offer these two new media technologies to use during your lessons. So please pay attention to my PowerPoint presentation. So the first page of PowerPoint presentation is what is augmented reality? What is this? Augmented reality is a part of continuum of technologies that fall somewhere between reality and virtual reality. It is shortly called AR. AR technology is used to overlay real image with data or digital image to increase impact, to increase usability, or to enhance understanding. So, how to connect it with AR? What is artificial intelligence? How it works in the modern life? You can see here what is augmented reality, real life with virtual layer. And the next step is called AI. What is AI and where it is used? AI uses a new technology. It is used in medical industry, car industry, military, phone industry, financial institutions, toy and games. And it is an example for how we use it in military experience. And I want to explain that what means AI. It is shortly AI. It is called artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence. AR shortly. Definition of artificial intelligence. You can see here some PowerPoint presentations about it, how it works, what is artificial intelligence. And it is AR gaming. It is also new technologies. How it works in education. It is also used in wide sphere of education. It is some examples. Augmented reality. And it is shame. Here is PowerPoint presentation. What is new media? Thank you very much for attention. Thank you very much. And next my lesson. I want to explain you some examples how to manage the lesson. How to manage lesson. I think the Gagne's 9 event of instructions is more useful to use during the lessons. The Gagne's 9 events of instructions are as follows. The first, gaining attention. The second, informing participant of objectives. The third, stimulating recall or prior learning. Presenting the contents, its fourth, and fifth, providing learning guidance. 6, eliciting performance. 7th, providing feedback in your lesson. 8th, assessing performance. And 9th advice is enhancing retention and transfer. Thank you very much for your attention. I tried to explain how to manage your lesson more interesting and more